Welcome back to another episode of Nothing Moves Without Us, a Black culture podcast. Today, Tatiana and I are discussing the 1994 film Crooklyn. It's been a minute. What's up? How you been?
I'm okay, hanging in there.
That's good. That's good.
We
So
got a
fun.
heat wave.
It's hot everywhere. Right? It's hot
Terrible.
everywhere. It's hot everywhere, yo. The West is burning. It's hot. It's hot in the middle of this of the country. And what is it like? High 90s out there?
It's like 91, but it felt like 100, 101 or something like that. I don't know. All I know is that as soon as it's time for me to like clock out from work, I'm like, what's the fastest way to the air conditioned bus to get to the air conditioned apartment? Because this is terrible. And it doesn't help that I usually am in all black and like running down the street
Right.
11 blocks to catch the bus.
Sorry, give me 1 second. What am I doing?
Hmm.
Test, 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 test. There we go. It's a little better. Okay. Um, yo, he in New York City is wild, yo. Like, he in New York City is just wild. It's because everyone's around you, right? And
It's
it's just
nasty.
there's no relief from anything in New York, right? There's no relief from.
No, it's nasty. When
I,
it's hot, like when it's hot, like in Colorado, you're like, oh, it's a hot day. Let's go do something. When it's hot in New York, I'm like, everybody is stinky and sweaty and close, and it's so grimy here. Like it's nasty. It's not enjoyable.
I remember. I mean, like you talk about the buses, like those AC buses, a train car with AC is a luxury, right? And sometimes like like we all know the train without AC, right? It's either if it's empty in
Yeah,
the summertime, either there's a homeless person who
yeah,
has a bad odor, or there's no
yeah,
AC. Um,
yeah.
I remember me and my boy Drew were walking through the city one day on a hot day, and we walked by like this loading dock, and yo, there was just this gust of cool air. We like, hold on, let's just sit here for a little bit. Let's just chill out for a little bit. And that became like our spot. Like we would like walk around the city, like, yo, let's get some let's get some cool air for a little bit. And that became like our spot to get like a gust of fresh air dealing with the city, man.
He went to the Gust. Like, what are you doing later, man? You want to go to the Gust? And then
You
he's
want to go
like,
to the
yeah, let's
gust?
go to the
Let's
Gust.
go to the gust, man. Let's get some cool air at the gust, right? Like
Cool, fresh air.
like in the western towns, the kids go to like the caves and the enclaves. We go to the
Uh-huh.
Gus. We go to the Gust.
That's funny.
I like that. I like that. So yo, we couldn't fit. We could have finished Rock, but I didn't want to force either of us to pay for it. But we did season 1 of Rock. It was on Pluto TV for free. We did the recording. I published the episode on Thursday. Friday, I think Friday or Saturday, you text me and were like, "Yo, the episode is gone, or the whole show is gone." I'm like,
It shows.
What? Like, what? Like, that exchange was hilarious. What did you say? We were the only two people watching it, and they took it off.
We were the only two. We had to be, but it was so crazy because I think we discussed it the last episode. We were just saying how like that people were like fighting to get this on the streaming sites. And we
Right.
were like, wow, that's crazy that people were fighting to get this on the streaming sites. And then we finished, we did the podcast for season one. And then I was like, all right, season two, I'm like pumped because all of it was filmed in front of a live studio audience and it was live, like literally live. And
Yeah.
he would show the newspaper and everything to prove like this is alive. I was pumped. I was like, I can't wait to do this. And then I went on Pluto and I'm like, look, typed in rock, nothing's coming up. I'm like, why is it not coming up? And then I searched it from like the home screen of my TV, and it just didn't exist. It was just like you need to pay per episode, and I was like, what the hell happened?
And if like I think I watched 1 or 2 episodes in season 2 by accident. So
Hmm.
like I saw like you said the live, like it was an episode with Sinbad, and it was like you said, a live studio audience. Rock comes up, he's like doing a behind the scenes walkthrough, like showing you about different cast members,
Right.
showing you how to get prepared. There's a scene where him and Sinbad having yeah, Sinbad is doing a reenactment of like an everyday working garbage man, and he's
Right.
following Rock around, and like the scene cuts, and they're like, all right, cut, and then like it goes to like the backdrop, and you see the cameras, you see Sinbad like walk off to like wherever he goes, and like you see the it you know, we talk about culture, right? You
Hmm.
see the culture, you feel the culture of the show, and that just I don't know, I feel away, right? It feels too um I feel like serendipitous is like when things are good. Usually, I'm not sure
Hmm.
of that, but it feels too. I can't think of the word. It's too. What's the word? Ironic or too coincidental. Like
Yeah, yeah,
Thursday, and Thursday, and it was gone within 2 days. Like that is amazing. That makes it's just weird. It's weird. It's weird. And sometimes maybe it's just contracts up, whatever.
yeah.
Sometimes we be reaching in the back of
Hmm.
my mind. I'm like, like what if we're the cause of it, right? Well, we're out here promoting rock, we're promoting these shows, promoting these movies, promoting these albums, and they're like, oh, there's a fan base for it. Hold on, let's make people pay for it. Let's make people pay for it. And I'm wondering
Yeah,
if that's the detriment of. There's some detriment to this podcast.
yeah. Because I know, like for the most part, I don't know if I'm not sure if Rock is in syndication because I know they get paid if it's in syndication. I know the actors don't make as much money if it's in streaming. But I was just, I don't know. I was excited to get into it because I was like, they were going to start, I think she was going to be pregnant that season, his wife. I wanted to see some more bum ass nigga antics from Joey, and then it was just he was just gone. No more Joey, no more Rock. It was no more Pop. It was crazy.
Right. And I think you said it was still available, but you had to pay what, $2.99 per episode to
Yeah, it
watch.
was something like 2.99 an episode to watch it either on like YouTube or another streaming site.
Okay.
And I was like, but what if I wanted to watch the whole season? That's so
So
much money.
Amazon Prime has season one for 19.99,
Hmm.
season two 17.99, and season three for 17.99. So the future, my future goal for this, right, is like once we get some money, some sponsors, some donations coming through, we can
Hmm.
afford to like buy this in bulk and like share an Amazon account so we can both watch it or
Right.
something.
Or
So
I watch it. I should have bought it on DVD and watched it and then sent it to you
right,
and then
that's
have
a
you
good
watch it
idea,
on
right? Like, yeah,
DVD.
yeah, yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
You know what? It's funny. I think I wanted to buy the DVD. Like I have it on. I think I have the DVD set on my Amazon wish list, but it's like
Hmm.
$100 because it's like one of those rare things that just they don't really
Yeah.
produce and manufacture. Um,
Yeah.
so season two and three of Rock are on hold until we get our bank up for the show.
Damn you, Jeff Bezos.
And yeah, I mean, I feel like it'll still be good. It'll still flow and click once we wrap up.
Yeah.
But Crooklyn, your as Erica says, your favorite movie ever, Crooklyn,
Yes. This is my favorite movie of all time. Um,
Brooklyn, and let it be known you're from Harlem, but your
exactly.
favorite movie of all time is from Brooklyn. I just want to, I
Yes.
just want to acknowledge that.
I'll acknowledge it, but fun fact about Spike Lee, he was born on March 20th, which is also my birthday. So
Hey,
geniuses, what can I say? All born on the same day. No.
you have
Crooklyn, that's like
you have some writing. You have some writing passion in you, right? Like so, he's writing
that's
movies. You
true.
got it there. You got it there. Have you
That's
been
true.
writing? We talked about it. I think like 2 episodes ago. Have you started writing or prepared
I
mentally?
I prepare mentally and I actually bought like a planner and stuff so that I could kind of organize my work, my thoughts, everything that I'm doing. So that I can make a solid attempt to like sit down and write down the things that I keep talking about instead of just talking about them. So
All right, I said I'm excited for whenever your reveal is.
yeah,
I'm
steps in
excited.
the right direction. Steps in the
Good,
right
good, good, good.
direction. But yeah, I love Crooklyn. Crooklyn has been my favorite movie probably since I was 7 years old or 8 years old. I've seen it like a million times. Um, but I always want everybody I know to watch it just to just so they can see like this is what I like. Do you like it too? So so hopefully I'm hoping you enjoyed it, but we'll get into that.
Yeah.
Um, let's see. So what do I do? Do you want me to say no? We already don't need to establish that. But anyway, let's talk
What?
about the.
Did you just have a conversation with yourself?
I
Just
did. I
that was
did.
hilarious. She's like, "What do you want me to do?" No, you don't have to do that, Cliff. Yeah, I like
Yeah.
that.
But we're going to talk about the intro of Crooklyn. Crooklyn
Okay.
is came out in 1994. It was written by Spike Lee, Cinqué Lee, and Joie Lee, all siblings. Um, it's semi-autobiographical. It's supposed to be sort of about their upbringing in Bedford, Stuyvesant. Um, and who's in this movie? A lot of people. Alfre Woodard is in this movie, who I absolutely love. Alfre Woodard is Carolyn. Um, Carmichael. Woody is Delroy
Which
Lindo.
is the mother? Just to clarify, like the
Mhm.
roles. Which is the mother? Just to clarify the roles.
Oh yes,
Yeah.
Carolyn is the mom, which is Alfre Woodard. Woody is the dad. He's Delroy Lindo's character. Zelda Harris as Troy, our main character. She's the only sister from a family of boys, and she has four brothers: Wendell, Clinton, Nate, and Joseph. Um, but yeah, it's set in 1973 in Bedford Stuyvesant. They're growing up. It's like right before the beginning of summer, and it's just a great movie. But what did you think of the intro of it?
It felt it felt very community oriented.
Yeah.
Like thinking about like I just read, and plus you said that it's focused in 1973, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
thinking about like my childhood growing up in the mostly 90s, right? I was born in 85. I was hanging out when I was 5 years old, but
Yeah.
it's reminiscent of my childhood in the 90s, growing up in Brooklyn. I grew up in Flatbush,
Mm-hmm.
um, and just seeing a parallel and seeing like how long standing that community and that group like lasted,
Mm-hmm.
but thinking about how things are now, and it's like, nah, like I
So
don't
different.
think that exists anywhere anymore.
Yeah.
And
It's harder to
it's
see, yeah.
sad. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But the intro it's I like the intro because it definitely puts you in the mood to watch the movie because it's just you're watching the kids have fun. It's like the beginning of summer, everyone's having fun. The soundtrack for Crooklyn is phenomenal.
Right.
Like you should download it on Spotify. The soundtrack is incredible. But you're watching kids play like they're doing double dutch, they're playing baseball, they're doing the Stratomatic baseball fantasy game, and
Red light,
it's
green light, 1, 2, 3.
exactly. They're playing what is it? What is that hot and cold game they play? Is it
Like
hot peas and butter? Is that what it's
I've
called?
never played that, but I yeah, I'm not sure. I'll look it up while you talk.
Yeah, the hot peas and butter is like a game where you're hiding something and it's like hold colder, colder, hotter, hotter. But it's just you see Troy playing with the kids. It's like the age ranges are crazy too. Like there's teenagers, there's like I think Joseph is like seven, 7 years old, maybe he's 6 years old. And like you said, it's like this really community feel because it's all these kids that like live on the same block playing and pretty much getting ready for the school year to be out so they can like finally enjoy their summer. Um, but yeah, I think the intro definitely is something that every time, even when I hear it and it's starting, I'm like, all right, let me sit down and watch this whole thing because it feels like it's important to the movie, even though it's just the intro and they're just telling you like the writers and who wrote the story and the director and the cinematographer. So it definitely puts you in 1973.
Right.
So I
And
really like it.
guys, so real quick, hot peas and butter, and this is from Urban Dictionary. Fun ass game in which one person hides a belt and asks a group of people to find it. The person who hid the belt can help the people find it easier by saying degrees of temperature. Example: hot, warm, cold, as a metaphor to describe their proximity to the whereabouts of the belt. After the person finds it, they yell "hot peas and butter," and the other participants have to run back to base before they get their ass whipped.
That's a little intense.
So another thing that like really stood out with the intro, like this is a black movie, right? And you
Very
really
black.
get that feel with those clips, right? Like, we talk about the kids playing games, um, the intro music. People make the world go round. The signs. I thought I wrote notes, but the signs was like, this is your community. Protect your community. You're responsible for the community. You see like Afro pics and all of that, hair being
Yeah.
braided, double dutch, and all that. And I say it's nostalgic of. I'm assuming your childhood too. Like, what was your childhood like growing up in Harlem?
My childhood in Harlem, I wish it was like what Crooklyn was. I don't know. It's this weird thing I've always had with this movie where I wish it was how my father grew up. I feel like if he if it was semi autobiographical to what my dad had as a kid, he would be more like a one of the possums instead of like Troy and all the kids, like all
Right.
her brothers, is more like the possums because they were like the troublemakers. But I wish that he could have had that experience as, Troy and Wendell and Clinton instead of the possums. But yeah, it's not really that similar except for, when we did summer camp and stuff, we would play games. But me and my sister were homebodies. Like we did not want to be outside. Like we were afraid to be outside. We were anxious children. Um, that's probably why we watched Crooklyn so much because we were like, damn, don't you wish we could do that? It's like,
Like that looks fun, but
we
we're
need
not
just to go
gonna try
outside.
that. I'm
Yeah,
okay. I'm okay.
stay my ass inside. Um, but it's definitely just nice to see a movie with just like a bunch of black kids just having fun and harmless fun, just being kids. So it's nice. That's
I,
as that's how I always look at it anyway. I'm like, damn, I wish my dad would have grew up like that because he would have benefited from growing up like that, you know?
right. It's interesting that you say harmless, but we'll get into that. I feel a bit later.
You're right,
Um,
semi-harmless. Let's say
right, right.
semi-harmless.
Because I've watched this a few times growing up, and for
Hmm.
being from Brooklyn, I love it automatically because Crooklyn is just one letter removed from Brooklyn.
Right.
Um, you know, having some of those experiences. I mean, I lived in an anomaly. My block was just a square block. We had like my building had 4 floors. There was a small building behind us that had like maybe 3 or 4 floors. There was a house in the house behind them with a yard, and to the right was this big building with like maybe eight, maybe 7, 8 floors or whatever. And like
Hmm.
surrounding us was the projects. To the left of us were like some homes and another building. But we were like this small little block, the small little I say we were a little island to ourselves. So
Yeah.
we all like we all hung out like 30. I lived on 35th and Newkirk. 35th was just our strip where there wasn't that much traffic. So we played in the street. We played basketball on a fire escape ladder because that's what we had. Our parents didn't want us to go to the park sometimes. We play handball like on the building side of the building. We played in like the courtyard of the building. So like watching it as a kid is like, yeah, like that's some of my life, and I know some of that. But
Yeah.
watching it as adult, it's the nostalgia. But then it's
Yeah.
like this like a new awareness, like being older and like, like
Right.
these kids is bad. Like, god dang, was it like? And I'm like, was I that bad? I'm like, nah, we weren't that bad. We weren't that bad on the block.
Yeah, not that bad, but it's definitely like you said, like nostalgic. I think even when I watched it as a kid, I don't know, it just really pulled me into it in such an immersive way that it felt nostalgic to me. Like I'm 10 years old, like damn, life was crazy back then, and it's like Tatiana, calm down, you're 10 years old, but you like nevertheless, it was just I don't know, it's just always been like such a great feeling to watch it. Like it's like putting on a familiar sweater or something. I don't know. It's like so comforting. I don't know. I would
What
just really enjoy it.
What are some of your early memories like watching it? Like, was it you and your family? Was it you and just your sister?
We had a copy of it on VHS, and me and my sister played that shit into the ground. We definitely watched it with our parents a bunch, and I remember specifically my father lending the tape to our next door neighbor, and he never gave it back. And I was like, "Mm."
People ain't shit,
But
right?
I was like, come on, I need that damn tape back. And then I think we ended up like a couple years down the line getting it on DVD, but it was always I felt like it was always on TV. So it wasn't that big of a loss, but like we definitely watched it a lot. Me and my sister just watched it a lot. It was two movies we had on all the time around that age. It was Little Mermaid or Crooklyn. So we were either watching mermaids swimming or kids swinging cats around by their tails. So, but yeah,
Yeah. So like going back into like the intro and the first few minutes, one thing that I really loved, and kind of tying in with the characters too, is just like the diversity of it all.
yeah,
Diversity and blackness, like all the kids are like just like unique. There's Clinton with his big glasses and his like tall, slender, slim little body with his big teeth. The Stro who's the girl. Woody, who's like, I think Woody's like more of the chubbier kid. No, Woody's
that's
the dad. Excuse
Wendell.
me, Wendell.
Yeah,
Wendell was like more of the chubbier kid. He reminds me of my boy Jonathan that I grew up with. Um, like who do you see yourself as? That's a good question. Who do you see yourself as in any of the kids?
damn, that's crazy. I don't know. Like, I'm trying to think. I never really got in trouble, so I probably would say that I was most akin to Joseph, the youngest one, because he kind of just like kept to himself and he was just kind of like looking for some direction.
Right.
Um,
He just wants some love. Everyone's ignoring him, like treating him like a
yeah,
little nuisance. Yeah, yeah,
and making fun of him and like so I probably am either I'm like closest to Joseph because I definitely didn't have like a big mouth as a kid, so I wasn't like getting into fights like Troy was, calling everybody stupid ass dummies.
yeah. Right.
And yeah, so I definitely is Joseph, but I like the dynamic between the kids too. Um, who do you think you were most similar to?
I kind of see some of Joseph in myself.
Hmm.
Because I feel like I've said this before. Like I feel like I was an annoying kid because like I wanted to hang out. Like, hey, let's do stuff. I'm a kid. I'm a young boy. I have all this energy, but it's just
Yeah.
just really my mom's and my sister. And at a certain point, my sister's too old to hang out with me. So I'm like, yo, like let's do. I got energy. Let's do something. Um, and sometimes I think it's Wendell, the brother who didn't want to eat the peas. Was it
Oh,
Wendell?
that's Nate.
That's Nate. Excuse me. Nate, who didn't. Yeah, we just said Wendell was the huskier kid. So
Yeah.
yeah, Nate because he's just picky. Like I'm a particular person. Like my mom would put play. I said I don't want to eat this. I'm like I don't want to eat this. Sometimes my mother, my mother be like, yo, you can't leave the table until you eat. I'd fall asleep at the table with my face like in rice and beans, and I just wake
Oh
up. She's
my
like, "Yo,
God.
finish your food, finish your food." So I think a little like I was in that transition phase between both of them. I think.
Yeah, I get the Nate thing because I remember when we were kids. I don't know why. This is funny. And I was about to say, don't tell anyone. But with me and my sister, I don't
Don't
know
tell anyone
why.
on this podcast.
Don't
Everyone,
tell
don't
anyone.
listen. Don't listen.
Don't listen to this part. We used to have to, like, if we weren't pooping regularly, my mom would be like, all right, you're going to sit down at this table and you're going to have this cup of prune juice. And I'd be like, I don't want to do this. She said, well, you're not getting up until you drink it. And so I would really just sit at this table with this glass of disgusting ass prune juice, just watching it get warm, and then just would like tiptoe quietly and slowly to the sink and pour it like directly down the drain so she wouldn't see any like splashes. And then just like drink enough so that my breath smelled like it and be
Right,
like,
right,
I
right. It's swirl
finished.
like mouthwash.
Yeah, like I finished. Can I go? Can I go to my room now? And she's like, fine. But like, yeah, watching the scenes, especially where she's like, where Carolyn, who Woody affectionately calls Jem, um, making Nate eat his food, and he's not doing it. I was like, terrible flashbacks to
I rem
drinking prune juice.
I remember my mother either not I guess making me like drink prune juice. There's like that carbonated uh laxative drink. I forget the name of it. There's
Citramona.
Citramona. There's X-Lax. I remember being greedy as a kid and like, oh, that's chocolate. I grew up with I have an addictive personality. It's like sugar was
Hmm.
like my base. I was like, oh,
Yeah.
this is chocolate. Yo, I was just popping them shits. Gone. It's gone, gone, gone. There's another thing in Haiti called it and it's just
Uh
like
huh.
boiled lettuce. And like mom be like, you gotta drink this, you gotta cleanse, you gotta cleanse, you gotta cleanse. I get it now, right? Like, they were trying to look out for us, but as a kid,
Yeah.
I don't want that flavor and I don't want that experience,
What was going on with our digestive systems when we were that age that it's just your parents was just like, listen, you gotta shit regularly.
We was eating bullshit. That's right, right. They feed us the good meals, but they know that we was eating chips, drinking soda, Apple Jacks. Yeah, I was eating. I used to eat. I was laughing at the scene with the tricks. I used to, we my responsibility was go get groceries on the weekend.
Hmm.
So, initially my sister was supposed to go with me. She ditched me, so I had to go get groceries by myself. So I'm carrying a Mott's 2 for $5. I'm carrying a Apple Jacks 2 for $5. Me, I'm carrying everything by myself, and I'd eat my Apple Jacks in like one day because I just love the flavor. Yo, we ran out of milk. I just eat it straight from the box till my gums were bleeding. Like I
Oh
couldn't
my
stop.
God.
I couldn't. I'd pay my sister $1. Say, yo, I ate all my cereal. Can I have a bowl? She like $1. I said, all right, yo, here's $1. I said, here's $1. I need my hit. I need my fix. Like, yo,
You were like snuffing right hand man.
you're right. You know what? I,
It's like,
I never realized right hand man didn't have a left hand. This is my first time like really noticing that. I never noticed that
really?
before. Yeah, I never
Yeah.
noticed that. That's wild.
I think it's gotta be one of the cruelest, like one of the cruelest jokes is just like, yeah, you're right hand man because he has
No, look.
no left arm from the elbow down. They're gonna call him right hand man. I was like, this is bullshit. But I think I didn't realize it probably like the first two or three times I watched it. And then I was like, this man doesn't have an arm. It's so messed up.
I let's talk about main characters. It's Troy, like who we mentioned is the main character, the protagonist of the story.
Hmm.
And Troy is interesting. Like she's hard, right? Like she's hard
Yeah,
because she grew up with all these brothers. And there's that scene where what's that girl named Peanut? Peanut like punks her at the grocery store. And
yeah.
her mom's like, you been fighting with all your brothers? She's like, how big is Peanut? She's like, she's 6'5", 250 pounds. Like,
You know what?
oh man.
I got the fear because I think like when it comes to siblings, they're not going to really hurt you too bad. Like there's a pause that they'll never get so far as to like break your arm, or try and like knock you out cold. But Peanut was the bad girl from around the block. She was like she just got caught stealing. She was going toe to toe with the manager of the supermarket.
Right, right, right.
My ass would have been scared too. 'Cause Peanut was big compared to Troy, and she got her food stamp stolen.
Right,
So,
right. It's yeah. To destroy this Carolyn, who's the mom.
mhm.
Um, so my question to you, right? How do you describe Woody? How do you describe Woody?
First of all, I just want to take this moment to just tell you that I just very much love Delroy Lindo.
Okay,
I met him one time when I worked at Barnes and Noble,
nice.
and the interaction was nothing significant to my life that even required me to mention it. All I did was put a book on hold for him and then text somebody that Del Rolando was at the store. But Woody is a free spirit. He is, I feel like, a completely creative person, and fully wants to be just this creative person, but it's not working in his favor financially. So I really like Woody, but he's
I need
just
you to say it. I need you to say it. I need you. You know what? You know what I want you to say. I need you to
he
say
not
it.
a he
He.
not a bum ass nigga.
Hold on.
Was that what
Why?
you're gonna say?
Well, yep. Because as
He's
soon as
not a bum ass
he
nigga.
can't, I wrote a bum ass nigga question mark. He's a bum. Come on, nah, you're not keeping that same energy. How is it different? How
Absolutely not.
how 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 is Woody any different from the brother from Rock? I forget his name.
Joey.
Joey. How is Woody any different from Joey besides having a family? Right.
Woody,
Even worse, right? Woody has a family and he's
right.
irresponsible. So I want to hear this breakdown. Let's hear it. Let's hear it.
I don't think that Woody is a bum ass nigga because first and foremost, he's very present in all his kids' lives. And even though he's not the disciplinarian, and a lot of that falls on the shoulders of Carolyn, who falls into it. Obviously, she's a school teacher. She, that's just it's just who she is. But I think because Woody at some point they don't really explain it, but he was a bit successful, and it was because he was performing other people's music, and then he got to the point where he wanted to do his own music, and I think he doesn't want to let go of his dreams, and I feel like that's a lot different from Joey because Joey was half-assing this attempt to be anything. The whole first season of that show, he gave up a goddamn job that he had showing off, and it backfired in his face, and he lost it. And I feel like Woody would never turn down the opportunity to, I don't know, let people know what he has. Like they went and they saw him at his concert, doing the piano, and this is something that's always been important to him. And not only that, everybody supports him in his dream. It's just financially stressful for Carolyn since she is the breadwinner. And even when she's the breadwinner, it's not like she's asking him, give up your dreams completely and, whatever. She's just like, make sure that we have the money that we need, before you go out and, make decisions with the money that I'm earning for all of us. So I never got the bum ass nigga vibe from Woody. He just always felt like to me like a free spirit. I feel like he was a pretty good dad to his kids. And he was just, I don't know, he was just all around just like stand up guy, to me anyway.
I get that. I hear all of that. I think he's a bum ass nigga, to use your language, because he doesn't want to grow up and be responsible, right?
Hmm.
It's even worse that he has kids, right? Like when they cut the light, they cut the lights off, right? He fronted, I paid you, I paid you ain't pay, right?
You
You
didn't
you
pay.
know you ain't pay, right? So now your kids have to live in the darkness, your tenants have to live in the darkness. And maybe we define bum ass nigga as two different things, right? Like for me, a bum
Hmm.
ass nigga is also you don't take care of your responsibility. You're not a man about your shit.
Right.
Like, yeah, there's nothing wrong with chasing your passion, chasing your dreams. But when you're allowing your partner, your wife, the mother of your children, to suffer, to haul ass, to work twice as hard just so you can trace a dream, and you're not offering some type of balance or reciprocity, especially
Hmm.
especially when she has to be the disciplinary, you're the fun, cool dad. It's unfair. I think it's unfair, and I think that's some bum ass nigga shit.
I see where you're coming from, uh, completely. But I don't know. I feel like Woody just really wanted to be a good musician. And I never got that from Joey. He was
I know,
just a
well,
musician. I
remove
think
the
that's the
remove the
difference.
comparison. All right, so let's remove comparison, right? Just
Hmm.
focus. Like let's remove the comparison and just Woody on it as on his own as his own individual man, as as his own individual man. Do you think
I
he?
feel
Go ahead.
I feel like he was financially irresponsible, but I will not sit here and say that Woody was a bum ass nigga. I
I,
just can't do it.
I know I see the lie in your face. It's all good though. So I see the lie in your face. It's
No,
all good. It's all good.
no,
It's all
no.
good.
I can't. I just don't see it for him because I feel like he could have done what a bum ass nigga would have done, which was to skip out on his family or just be like, yeah, I can't do this shit. I'm gonna just leave. It'd be a completely different story. But
Leave
to
to
me,
go
it's
where
just
though, right? He don't have a job. Where he gonna go?
I don't know. I have no idea. I mean, you're right. He couldn't leave to go anywhere really, but even then, he wasn't like, yo, let me borrow $20, or he wasn't doing weird, shisty shit.
He's like Joey evolved, right? Like when him and Carolyn
No,
had the fight, she was like, "Go to your brother's house and tell him to come get your shit." And I thought of the song, the Erykah Badu song Tyrone. I was like, did that inspire her? She was like, "Come on and get your shit." I was like, "Yeah, that's probably where Erykah Badu got it. It sounded like it.
probably, but I don't know. I just never got that from him. I just felt like he, more than anything, was a struggling artist who was just trying to, find his way. Um, but yeah, you're right to a degree about him being a little bit on the bummy side. But
Yeah, he was a great dad. I'm not gonna
I love Woody. I
deny that.
love Woody. I really loved Woody. Even after like you brought up the fight between him and Carolyn and the kids, like you could see none of that was intentional. It was definitely just like a heat of a moment thing. It was a tense thing. like mom's kind of lashing out at the kids because she's mad at, you know, Woody, and then she tells him like, "Hey, just let them watch TV." And then she's like, "Well, I pay the bills."
Right,
And I'm
right,
like, "Come
right,
on, Carolyn, you didn't have to say that." Um, but even after all that, like he didn't wait to make amends. He made amends immediately
right.
because, he loves his wife and he appreciates his family and he wanted to make things right. So I think that's why I just can't put him in the same category as like, a bum ass nigga because he was just like such a not only just a good dude, but he was like a cool dude. Like he was walking around in his little koofy hats or whatever, and he had that weird ass trumpet to call the kids for dinner. Like that's so cool. I wish my dad wore like a kufi and had a horn, call me for dinner out the window from the 24th floor.
So let's talk about Caroline a bit. Um, as the breadwinner, as the disciplinary, like her like, rewatching the show as an adult. The last time I watched the show, Erica and I went to Fort Greene Park, and it was like an anniversary, and Spike Lee was there, like talking
Hmm.
about it, which was a dope experience. Um, Watching the show now as an adult, it feels very triggering because it's just a lot of yelling and arguing, and I'm just like, yo, this shit is a lot. This shit is a
Yeah,
lot. Like watching, for me, it's reliving, not reliving. It's it feels very representative of like what the black experience is at home. Always being
hmm,
yelled at, always feeling like degraded, feeling devalued. Um, the, the love is there, right? The love is always
right.
there, but the love doesn't feel like the dominant force that's being pushed towards you. It's always like
Hmm.
this pent up energy, and it's interesting, like seeing it at with Carolyn. Although you have the father present, sometimes I feel like her behavior would be more so for like a single black mother, and it feels like her character feels like it's a single black mother because she's the more so the disciplinary. I feel like in most households, most TV shows, most movies, when both parents are there, I feel like the dad is usually harder. And like
Hmm.
there are the rare few occasions where the mother is as harsh and like on the kids to get shit done.
Right. I think she knew that she had to be the one to push them because Woody was he was so carefree. His focus was always his music, even though he, like I said, he was a good dad. But she knew she had to be uh like she had to give the kids direction. She had to let them know that there are rules. And I don't know, like, rewatching it, like you said, I keep trying to figure out like how long she knew that she was sick. And maybe that's why she was
Mm,
so hard on them because like again, it's a semi-autobiographical movie and it's sort of a love letter to Spike Lee's mother who passed at 41 years old from liver cancer. Um, and so I keep thinking to myself, like, how long did she know she was sick? Because, she was like, oh, I'm going to send, they send Troy down south and they send Nate down south. And I feel it's too coincidental that that happened. I feel
right.
like she was trying to toughen these kids up. Um, because I feel like, I don't know, black moms always have that thing they say when they're like, I'm not going to be around forever. You got to learn how to take care of yourself. So I think that was a part of it, why she was so like hard on them. Um, but yeah, you're right. She did give off that like single mother vibe, and it's I think, like you said, it's because she had to do everything. She had to be the disciplinarian. She was the cook. I'm sure she was probably the one that made sure they did their homework. She was the one that making sure they were in bed. The TV was off at a certain time, So she had a lot more responsibility to the kids than he did. So she definitely gave off the vibe of like, I'm doing this by myself.
Right.
Even though Woody was there.
Like there's this scene when they like I think like first dinner scene, right? She's like, I want you all to clean up. When we get back home, I want everything to be clean. And they get home, the kids are in bed, and she just goes on a rampage. She's whipping butts. She's grab. I told you to clean and all that. And I'm just like, damn, like you can't just wake them up. Like black parents don't ever wake you up gently. It's always like you gotta run for the hills, like the world is ending, right?
Right,
It always feels like
right.
that. Oh,
It's never like, hey baby, wake up.
right. It's like
It's always like a door busting open, like, didn't I tell you through the clenched teeth and shit? And you're like, ugh. But then again, she did tell them, like, hey, your dad's got a show tonight. I would appreciate it if you guys did the cleaning because what did she do all day? She cooked.
right,
She cooked, she cleaned, she did all that, and then she comes home and garbage is still there. No, garbage not there because Nate took it out. Nate was the only one that did anything, apparently. They got food on the floor, dishes in the sink, and Clinton's the oldest. Um, he doesn't give, like she said, she was like, "You're the oldest, like you have to help me," and he's just kind of like over it. That was the thing I think out of all the kids, Clinton was my least favorite until the end, and it was because he had such an attitude about everything.
right,
He's just like, oh God, here she go again. Like that was one thing I felt like was a little bit unrealistic about about the movie, was all that back talk. That was a lot of back talk from
from
Clinton.
Clinton.
Yeah, he
It's
was
interesting.
like,
Go ahead.
ah, you crazy. She's crazy. Like I rather have a father than a mother any day. Like who says some shit like that to your mom?
I
That's
don't think I
crazy.
don't think that's I don't think that's unrealistic. Like thinking about her. I don't have the ages for all the kids. Let me see if they
Um, Wendell, I think Wendell, Clinton, and Nate are older than Troy. Troy is 9, so I'm assuming Joseph is probably around 7 or 6. My assumption is Clinton is probably like 13 or 14.
Okay. So imagine that Clinton has been dealing with this for his whole life. He's tired of this shit, right? She probably, respectfully to Carolyn, right? She probably been this way since Clinton was born, and he's just tired of it. He's like, yo, this woman is crazy. She always wilding. She always hitting me. He's tired of it. So yeah, he's over it. He's like, yo, fuck this, right? Dad ain't never beat me. In the 14 years I've been alive, Dad ain't never beat me. This woman is crazy. Yeah,
Yeah.
I feel Clinton. After a while, I seen too much. This woman is wild. This woman is wild.
But but then again, I look at it like this. She comes home, so what we can say or we can infer is that Woody's been doing this music thing for a very long time. They must have met, years ago, and he was probably doing music even then. She's been asking Clinton to help clean shit probably like how long? 8 years? And he's still not doing this shit? He's still not doing this shit, Clifford? Come
Why
on.
though? Like why? Right? Like she been using the stick, right? Why not use the carrot? Maybe there's a different approach, right? Where's the where's the incentivization? I don't know if that's the word. Like where are the incentives? Like did you get allowance for chores and stuff like that growing up? Did you get
No.
rewarded for anything? Okay. It
I'm gonna be honest. I was promised allowance, but I didn't get it because it was always something. Like it's like, I cleaned my room. My room been clean for a week. Can I have my $20? It's like, but did you clean the bathroom?
$20.
I'm like,
Woo!
you clean the bathroom?
Shit.
Well, it was $20 because we never got it anyway, so it didn't matter. So it's like you
True.
get $20 if you do this, and you're like, cool, and then you clean a little bit, and then they're like, you didn't do it right though. And it's like, damn, all right.
I couldn't even imagine getting more than $5 for everything, for anything. Um I can't remember if me and my sister got money for chores. I know I got incentivized for like good grades.
Hmm.
I used to watch Jeopardy and Wheel of Fortune a lot as a kid with my mom. If we watched the news, the 6 o'clock news, and then Jeopardy and Wheel of Fortune come on, and I'd get like 10 cents for every right answer, and I'd like build that up a little bit. I'd get money for like good grades.
Hmm.
I can't remember for chores because like you live here for free. Like, why would I pay you to clean the dish? Like, yeah, why would I pay you to clean dishes? Like, you live here for free, right? Like that's black love, right?
Yeah. I feed you.
I
I
feed you,
clothe
right?
you. Do you not have shoes? A coat to wear? And you're like, yeah, I do. It's like, all right, be quiet about it. Um, but yeah, I don't know. I think Clinton was a little too mouthy, but like he's at that age. Teenagers can be mean, so I get it. But it's just so funny because Wendell follows right behind everything he says. He says everything Clinton says, he's like, yeah. And it's like, Wendell, just be quiet. You always in trouble because you don't know how to stop talking. But he's the character that reminds me the most of my father because he just won't stop talking. Just stop
Wendell
talking.
is bad, yo. He's a liar. Like
He's
when
such a good
he
liar.
it, oh, watching the movie, viewing it as a black movie,
Hmm.
and we didn't have that many Hispanic people in my neighborhood. We had one neighbor who lived on the fourth floor, lived
Hmm.
on the fourth floor with us. We used to play, handball, like tennis. We had like this orange milk crate,
Hmm.
and we'd use that as the tennis line. We play handball with it, or like play tennis with it. And when the ball would hit his door, he'd always be in his apartment, cursing at us, yelling at us, and that kind of set like a negative disposition for me toward Hispanic people.
Hmm.
And like watching this, it feels realistic to like my neighborhood. Just like he's one of few anomalies of non-black people, but
Yeah.
for the majority, it's majority black. So there's Tony, the neighbor with all the dogs. He's doing music. He's the one that you hate Tony. He's the one that Woody like blue, like they're trying to eat dinner and Tony's singing, trying to make me. Tony's trying to be a creative too. Here comes Woody hating. Keep it down in there, right? Go ahead.
Can I just say, did you listen to the lyrics when
Were
Tony's singing?
I thought
He's
they were a
singing
cover of Go ahead.
It's Not Unusual by
Right.
Tom Jones, but he's doing like the slowed down version.
It
And the
was
best thing
good,
is
right? But
it,
Pete,
it was not bad, but you're just like, come on. But I think the funniest thing about Tony Eyes is like when they show him in the apartment and he has on like the big thick ass glasses and like all his furniture is like torn to shit and it's just filled with dogs and he just playing the piano through it just like this is just the demise of Tony Eyes just sitting in this like basement apartment of this brownstone just playing It's Not Unusual by Tom Jones. That was so strange.
I just thought, oh, this made the connection, right? Tony was doing what Woody was doing, right? I think we said that Woody became famous off of playing other people's music, right? Tony's just
Hmm.
he's trying to get his come up just like Woody, and Woody's knocking on him.
Yeah, he
But
is.
I felt bad. I felt bad for Tony, right? Vic slapped him,
Definitely.
slapped the glasses off his face. The kids lying on him, throwing trash. I get one aspect of them being upset about him living in filth with all his dogs and everything. And if that's the case, or like Carolyn makes the threat when they're arguing, I should call the city on you and blah blah blah. Like do that. If it really bothers you, do that, right? Don't violate the man. Don't have your kids lie on the man. And I don't like it left a bad taste of like sense of community for me, right?
Hmm.
It's just this poor like he's saying you killed my mom. Like remember when he said that you killed my mom's or my mom is dead because of you. We don't
He
even
was
know
like, "You killed my mother,"
we
and
don't even
it's
know
just
the
like
backstory behind that, right? Like is he crazy or like is there some
Tony
validity?
crazy.
He's probably crazy. I like that.
Tony crazy. But that's the thing I think where you kind of see like Woody and Carolyn are like the yin and yang because later on when there's another confrontation with Tony, even though Woody was like super harsh with him in the beginning about him playing the music, he was like, "Hey, if you even need help cleaning up, like I can come and help you." And this is when Troy is down south
Right.
because Carolyn is writing her letters while she's down there, and and he pretty much is like, I can come help you, man, but your house. He was like, your house stinks, man. It stinks, and he's just kind of like subdued. But
And
like even the possums was teasing this guy. You heard him there like yelling at him when he
it's
was
high
outside
water
in his high
socks.
water
Yeah,
bell
yeah,
bottoms.
yeah,
They're like,
man.
pull down your pants or pull up your ankles. I was like, that's so mean.
Yo, kids are like watch part of watching this feels like black kids terrorizing each other, one, but also like it's older people. That's what it
Yeah,
kind of feels like that at times.
yeah. It's definitely like just like a I feel like it's how do you say it? A snippet of a neighborhood's summer That's what
Right.
it felt like because
Yeah.
it's so. I think I was reading something where a critic had called or referred to Crooklyn as messy, but still good, and that's kind of the vibe you get from it. Like it's messy, but it makes sense
Because it's
because it's
realistic. Like
yeah,
that's how summer is, right? Summer
yeah,
is a messy experience. Like people like, get shipped down south, not shipped, but people get sent down south. Someone's
yeah,
gonna get punched in the face. You're gonna see a cop once or twice during the summer. Like that's just realistic of what it is.
right. That's just how it is. But it really, I don't know. I just always thought that was like the cool thing about the movie. It just feels like a snippet from someone's life. But I wanted to ask you what you thought about the cinematography, because there's like a change that happens when they go down south, and that like can I just tell you, the I showed like some of my old roommates this movie,
Yo,
and when it got to the part where they got down south, they were just like, why does it look like this now? And I was like, what?
let's accept it. Like, what's the problem? Let's
It makes
accept it. Okay, that's what the
I was
movie
like, it
does.
makes
Just shut
sense.
up. Yeah, yeah. I
It
get that. I
makes
get
sense
that.
to me, right? Did it make sense to you that it like
It, it makes all right. So like I said, I haven't watched it maybe in like 5 years, 6 years.
hmm
I don't know. I accept it. So like seeing it again, like I kind of forget. I'm like, oh
hmm
yeah, this weird thing happens, and I don't. Do you have any information on like why that is?
So I actually don't, but I just figured that I just took it from like a perspective of me. When I was like 13, um my mom sent me to Florida. She sent me to Miami for like a month, and the whole time I was there I was just like, this shit is weird. And not like necessarily weird in a bad way, but it was so different. So I think
You
that's
gotta drive
definitely
everywhere, like shit like that,
right. You
right?
gotta drive everywhere. It's really hot. Like it's just different. It's just
Yeah,
very
yeah,
different. And to me, because like when I would go down there, I stayed with like my aunt Bootsy, and I had like well, I still do. I have identical twin cousins, and they have an older sister, and they're very like they have like the southern accent, and they live very simply. They were like homeschooled, just like so. It definitely gave me that like Viola vibe. Her cousin that she goes to
right,
stay
right,
with,
right, right, right.
and
I've
like
met your
as I
cousins before, right? I think I have.
yeah, you met Shonda and Shalisha, yeah.
Yeah, so yeah,
Um,
I definitely get that. Yeah,
yeah, so it's like it's so different than what you're used to. So that's I think why it looks that way. That it's like you are now being taken out of what you're used to and you're
yeah, yeah,
someplace
yeah.
else, and you have to get used to how it is. So I don't know. I've always associated with it like, oh, they're being down south there in this weird place for the first time, and it takes some time to adjust. So everything just feels surreal in that sense. That's what I got from it anyway. Like everything's so surreal when she literally is pulled from her home and they're like, all right, you're going down south for a month with these people that you don't really know. Good luck, bye, and they just drive off. So of course everything looks strange to you. You got to get acclimated to it. And I think since she never really got enough time to get acclimated to it, the period of the movie where she's down south, it'll always look like that until it's time for her to go home. And then when she gets back to New York, it's back to how it was. That's how
Right.
I always seen it anyway.
Yeah, that's a really great point. And I was thinking about that, like while you're talking, like it's almost like a dream state, right? Like
Yeah.
this isn't your real life, right? Because we all there's always the scenes with her in her bed tossing and turning, and like
hmm
this isn't your real life, right? So yeah, I really like that observation. I never made that connection until just now. But
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, I absolutely agree. Yeah.
Yeah, I always looked at it like she's in a weird place and everything just seems strange and weird to her. Like she's getting used to it, but it's still not what she's used to. It's not home for her. So that's why it just looks weird.
Yeah.
Um, Another thing about well, I don't know if you can chalk this up to cinematography. I looked at the cinematographer. His name was Arthur Jaffa. Um, I think it's so cool that when they do the dream sequences for the movie, there's always just like a lot of floating happening.
Right.
Like they float off. Like when Troy, what is it? When Troy has the dream, um, where right hand man
And
and
Snuffy are like chasing her, or no, I
Snuffy
think
are
she take a
chasing
hit.
her,
Yeah, yeah.
and they make her sniff glue out of the paper bag, and then she just like floats off into the air above Brooklyn. And I'm
Right,
like,
right,
bro,
right,
this
right,
is so weird, but that's what dreams feel like.
right.
So I feel like he does a really good job of making it, I don't know, just making it feel, even though it's a dream sequence, making it feel like that's how you dream. Because I feel like that's how dreams feel. Where you're just like, none of it makes sense. Why are you huffing glue with the two weird ass dudes that's always trying to rob you and your friends? And when then you are, and then you're floating off, out of like into the sky. So I thought that was cool too.
Yeah, Spike Lee has I can't remember the last time I watched a recent Spike Lee film, but I feel like he had some great signature cinematography, like in like the '90s, and like those are like his signature moves. Like there's a scene where I think I was gonna say Huffy, not
Snuffy.
Huffy, Snuffy, and the right hand are like upside down, and it's. I remember like seeing that for the first time, and I'm like, "Yo, like, how do they do that? This is so cool! Like, it's dope." And even watching it now, I don't think I've ever seen like behind the scenes of it, and I'm in my mind as an adult, I'm trying to conceptualize like how are they doing this now? Um, but like going back to the dream sequences and moving like not moving going down south, I love and like really making that connection for the first time through this conversation. I love the cinematography and I respect it and I love it even more like putting that together
Hmm.
because like you talked about going to Florida. I don't think I've ever. I I got it. I got it. I got it. My mother has never sent me anywhere for like summer vacation. I have this
Hmm.
very faint memory as a kid of going to Boston. And I mean, I was probably like 4 or 5, but I remember being in the Greyhound bus station, and
Hmm.
it's just like very white. It's like a teal walls, and like, I think I'm sitting on my mother. No, I'm sitting in a chair, and there's like a black and white TV hooked up to the chair. I remember the next day being in Boston, and I've been thinking about this story because so I'm doing the audio book.
Hmm.
I met like a cousin for the first time, and I woke up and the bed was wet, and I used to wet the bed a lot as a kid, and I think I peed the bed. But when they asked us, I lied. I said he did it. I said he did it. I blamed him. I said he did it. He did it. He's like, no, I didn't do it. You did it. I said, yo, he did it. I'm Wendell. I'm all the kids, right? I'm Wendell. I said he did it. I blamed him. I said he did it. Thinking about it, it's like a dream because I don't have anything in between. I just have like these weird memories. So I'm thinking
Right.
about like the scene of Troy going down south, like and
Hmm.
like your memories in Florida, right? They feel very dreamlike. They don't feel very real. They feel stretched out. They're just like very weird and blocky. Um,
Yeah.
yes, I forgot how I started this, but yeah, that's like what I'm getting from this cinematography and like
Yeah.
when you're not home, right? It all just
Hmm.
feels like a dream at the end of the day. It all just feels like a
Right.
dream. Yeah.
Right. Because it's just such a small segment of your life.
Yeah.
Um, and even though it's so small of a segment of her life, it was pivotal because this is the first time she's been away from home, probably first time she's been on a plane after like returning, and the longest she's been away from them. So she's changed. She's not, she came back. She wasn't wearing, like, her hair was not in braids anymore. She had the little afro puffs. She was wearing skirts and like cutesy little girl stuff. And she comes back and her brothers are like, "Who the hell is
Right.
this?" And then she's just like, "Yeah, I was down south for a month. This is who I am now." So like,
She found some
it's a,
femininity down there a little bit, right? Like with her
yeah,
cousin.
it's definitely forced because of Aunt Viola, who was against the beads and things because she didn't know what to do with the beads and things and the seashells and things
Oh
in her
man.
hair.
Oh
Yo,
man.
I gotta tell you though, like, I know that this is fucked up, but when that dog dies, when Queenie dies in that couch,
Yo.
I was in here crying, and I've seen this movie
It's like when you
a
when you just
lot.
watched it recently, you cried again.
Yes, I
Damn.
was crying because she was like, because it leads up to when she's looking for Queenie, and she's like, Queenie, baby, where are you? Oh God, where's Mama's baby?" And then she
Yo,
she
she
opens
popped
up the
out.
couch.
Yo,
And
it
one of the little girls is like trying to stifle the laugh because this is so dramatic. And I think alone from that part, I can't remember what Aunt Song, sorry, I said Viola, Aunt Song deserved an Oscar for that scene alone because I could have sworn that dog was for real dead. That's how she was acting. But Aunt Song, man, she was nuts. But Queenie dying was got to be like the funniest thing I've seen in a movie in a long time.
that it,
Rest in peace,
yo,
Queenie.
it was a hilarious like spring action. It felt like a Chris Farley type comedy movie, like boing. She just fell out. She just I was like,
and
damn. But
the
yeah, I mean,
best part is
y'all some badass kids, yo.
right, and the best part is like Queenie is just because she's a dog actor.
She's a
It's
dog actor. I like that. Queenie's a
just
dog
laying
actor.
there, just trying to look dead. But I what was I was Googling something earlier about Crooklyn, and one of the questions that came up was who killed the dog in Crooklyn? And I think someone answered like it was most likely Viola who did it. I was like, how'd they get to that conclusion?
Yeah, and you
But then
blame your
again,
cousin, just like I try to blame my cousin, right?
yeah, she's like,
I
it
like that.
was
I like
probably
that.
Troy.
I like that. I was
Yeah,
trying
but
to.
they could.
I was trying to.
Mhm.
Sorry, I was trying to see if there was a like a credit for Queenie, but there's only a credit for the trainer of Queenie, so,
Ah, okay.
and Muttley.
Muttley ate my cake.
So earlier I talked about having living in a predominantly black neighborhood, but always having like
Hmm.
those one or two Hispanic or non-black people in the neighborhood.
Hmm.
What was that your experience also? And what would those relationships like? Because they've always felt tense to me. They've always felt tense to me.
Where I grew up in the Polo Grounds in Harlem. So we had like a pretty big Hispanic population, and then right next to the projects that I grew up in was another projects, which was Wrangell. And so when I was in elementary school, my best friend was Dominican, and like even in junior high school and stuff, I was always at her house and hanging out with her sisters, and then like a lot of my classmates were like Puerto Rican and Dominican. So I never felt that, but it's also something I probably didn't pay attention to for the most part because I went to elementary school, junior high school, and high school pretty much sort of with like the same people within like 6 block 6 block radius. Um, but yeah, it was pretty balanced. It was pretty balanced, so it wasn't much. Excuse me, it wasn't much tension because, and I also grew up so close to Washington Heights,
That's right.
so it's never really like that big of a tension thing. Um, I feel yeah, it was pretty like whatever because we had like darker Dominicans too, like Afro Latinos. So it wasn't something I really thought about unless there was like a language barrier that I'm
Right.
like, oh, we can't communicate because we don't speak the same language. But yeah, for the most part, it was just like, you know, like my friend Jasmine. Jasmine's like, she's a quarter Puerto Rican. But yeah, like for the most part, it was all mixed up, so it wasn't really like a big deal. I had a lot of Puerto Rican and Dominican friends growing up in Harlem,
Yeah. I
so I
mean,
never really thought about it.
I had a few. For me, I think most of the tension came from like the adults.
Hmm.
Um, and yeah, just thinking of scenarios. Um, I, I I love the scene of Troy in the bodega, like with I
Which
think his name
one?
is Tito, and I feel like it's a transactor. I'm not sure, but
That's
it's
RuPaul.
oh, okay. You know what's funny? I thought that, then I was like, nah, that's not RuPaul
That's
because
Tammy.
right. And the funny, I looked it up. I looked it up, and I didn't see a credit for that. Okay, but
Yeah,
good to know. So yeah,
yeah,
so they're dancing, and like for me, it brings back the vibe of like when bodegas were fun. I feel like
yeah.
bodegas used to be fun to go to go in. Always had like their own cultural music playing.
Hmm.
There's a lot of Hispanic people. Yeah, yeah, yo, I've never realized that. Like bodegas have this transition into corner, at least in Brooklyn, have this kind of
Hmm.
transition into corner stores, and it's mostly like Middle Eastern people who own them now.
Yeah,
Are they still like how I feel like the Bronx might be still Hispanic dominated in terms of bodega, but
yeah,
okay,
yeah. Pretty much for the most part. it's mostly, yeah, mostly Hispanic. I think mostly Puerto Rican. But that scene with RuPaul dancing in that bodega is like one of my favorite scenes out of the movie because it's in slow motion
Right.
and he's got on like the big blonde wig, and like obviously the guy that's working in the bodega is whispering like nasty shit to him, and he's like, I ain't no puta, I keep my panties clean. And I'm like, what is going on? Which is also really funny because right after that, like, Troy sees this. She's so interested. She doesn't know what's going on. But
Yeah.
then later on, when she's down south, the minute they turn off the lights to go to bed, Troy's
Yeah.
jumping on the bed like, I ain't no puta. I keep my pajamas clean. I ain't no puta. I keep my pajamas clean. I keep my pajamas clean. And it's just like kids literally will repeat anything they hear.
Right, right. Like Wendell does with Clinton, right?
Yeah, everything. Because Clinton will do some dumb shit. And then Wendell's like, yeah, mom, like, why don't you calm down? And he said, who said that? And it was like, that was Nate. He's like, it wasn't me, mommy. It was Wendell.
So they credit. I looked up Connie, but they just have it as Bodega Woman. I think maybe that's why.
Hmm.
Okay. Um, Another thing that was interesting was like watching the children dynamics.
Yeah.
I talked about growing up in like my weird island, a little anomaly, and we all kind of got along. Like, I mean, we were all like West Indian.
Hmm.
Um, we all really got along. Boys and girls got along. We hung out with each other until like we all got older and separated. But I never really experienced like tension with like
Hmm.
the girls my age. And so I know you said you didn't go out that much as a kid, but like was that? Do you know if that was an experience up in Harlem?
Um, I'm trying to think. A few times I think when I was in junior high school, because of the junior high school I went to, there were kids that like off the bat just didn't like us. Um, but never really that much tension, I don't think. But again, I didn't really pay attention to that shit because my whole thing was like, all right, I'm out of school. Now what? All right, let me go get a slice of pizza and run home so I can watch The Simpsons.
Right, right,
Um, but I don't know. I don't think there was much tension between the kids because even when it came down to the summertime and there was like big water fights and stuff between colonials or wrangles and polo grounds, it was all in fun. Um, so not much tension, at least that I witnessed. I think it was pretty calm.
yeah, and that's a great point, and it kind of adds on to not point, but it's not a great point. It's I don't know. I don't. I'm trying to transition. I don't have the words for it. But
Yeah,
it's
maybe at the Rucker games actually, because I
true.
lived across, so the Rucker games were there. So maybe that was probably the only time when it could have been tense because it was like kids coming from all different neighborhoods
Right, right, right,
to
right,
go
right.
to the games. Same thing like probably when there were like big family cookouts and stuff in the park, in Rucker Park. Maybe then too, but I didn't really see it that much because um I feel for the most part everybody was just trying to have a good time. I think that was like probably really good time for just kids around. That's like maybe like the late '90s, mid '90s. But yeah, like even when kids would like be like, "Hey, can we get some food?" We just give it to them,
Right,
and then
right,
that would
right.
be it. It wasn't really like big beefing.
There's I talked about the diversity and like the the few non-black characters. What did I put his name? Like Tommy Lala, and well, like he's arguing with the kids on the stoop, right? And he's calling them niggers and all this other shit, and they're calling him spick and all of that. And I was thinking about like that's I talked about like that tension from older people as a kid, but
Hmm.
there was also a level of just we just talking shit to each other, right? Like we talk shit.
Yeah,
I diss you in your race, you diss me in my race, and then we just go
yeah,
about it, and it's not a big deal.
yeah.
Um,
You get over it. Like they just
right,
got over it.
right, right.
So I'm
Because
gonna say
we
something real. Yeah, I think it did hurt Tommy's feelings though for a second, but then he was just like, "All right, it's fine because I did
right,
come out of my mouth a little bit crazy too. So
right,
whatever."
right, and like that's the adult aspect of it, right? Like yeah, I
Yeah.
violated them, they violated me. Let's just go on with it. And that's part of the dopeness within the culture. I was thinking about I think about, maybe about the like bodegas and how they've changed so much,
Hmm.
and but the bodegas changing, but also the the majority. Bed-Stuy used to be a majority black neighborhood. Now I don't even know if it's white majority at this point, but there's a lot
Hmm.
of white people there now. And I lost the thought. I lost the thought. lost the thought.
You
I,
better find it.
I think I was gonna go into I guess lack of community, but also
Hmm.
like not having those honest conversations where you just shit talk each other and it's all good, right? Like a lot of the I feel like when a neighborhood gets gentrified, most of the white people they're not doing their grocery shopping at the Associated or Key Food. They're going to Trader Joe's and they're taking it for that hour train ride, into these neighborhoods. Um, and the lack of communication, the lack of venting, right? I'll talk
Yeah.
about trolling a lot and how trolling is healthy. Like sometimes you just got to go on the internet, call someone a motherfucker, call someone a racist word, and you just let it out, right? But when you live life on an everyday base, right, like it's good, it's all good, it's all good. Like I'm not gonna do anything. I'll talk my shit. I vented it, but we live so repressed and separated from each other. We don't communicate with our neighbors, and there's all this tension build up, right? Because everyone's
Yeah.
scared to say the wrong thing, and that adds on to the death of community. Like again, thinking about those signs about you being part of the community, like in the beginning, in those first 5 minutes, like none of that feels valid anyway anymore because like I don't. There's like where do you walk in New York City and it feels like a community for you still?
Oh, man, nowhere. It's maybe I think the last time I saw, so my sister lives up in she lives up in Little Italy. Um,
Up or down? I'm just trying to wonder if there's a different little Italy.
yeah, there's one in the Bronx.
I never knew that. Really?
Yeah, it's close to the New York Botanical Garden.
Cool.
Because Florida, Florida University is up there
Right.
too. But if you walk down like 187th Street around that area, you can sense it like community there. Um, you can also see like the divide though. Like you'll see like one side will be like mostly like black people, and then you'll see Italian people, but it still feels like community because I'll see people sitting outside on stoops and stuff and like shooting the shit with people that walk by. But also, I feel like, you know what? I feel it a lot too working in Washington Heights. So I walk from 168th Street to 157th Street pretty much every day around 5 o'clock. And oh my God, there's so many people just out on the street talking. There's smaller pharmacies, like mom and pop stores still up there. And it's nice, but you can slowly start to see where it's getting more gentrified because now there are nicer restaurants opening, and then you'll see like this like predominantly white people in these nicer restaurants because they now like a lot of white people now live on Broadway, starting from like 168th all the way down probably to forever, all the way down into
To
Harlem
Yonkers.
and down to like that whole stretch. Like if you go to 145th and Broadway, which technically counts as like, I don't know what it counts as what neighborhood, but it's still like a lot of Dominicans, a lot of Puerto Ricans, a lot of black people. Harlem Public, Harlem Public, you'll go in there, you'll probably be like the only like black person in there
I don't know what
when you
Harlem
go
Public
there.
is. What is that?
It's like on 145th and Broadway, it's a restaurant. Um, it's a restaurant slash bar, but like that whole area is starting to be built up to, accommodate a certain race. You know what I'm saying? Like these things, these nice things didn't exist before they got there, but now it does. So you kind of see it there, but like up there on Washington Heights from like 168 to 157th Street, you can really see like how many people everybody knows each other.
Right.
Everybody's interacting with one another. Like there's be tons of guys just standing outside, just shooting shit with each other, playing dominoes, selling stuff, just hanging out. So maybe like that's the last time. And anytime I drive past the polo grounds, past the Rucker games, then I'll see a lot of black people over there, like having a good time, and it feels like community. It feels like fun. Um, but that's about it. But like I feel like it really just depends on what your definition of community is, you
Right.
know? Um, but yeah, definitely in Washington Heights, you can still feel like that community vibe, which I wish everybody got the chance to have in their own neighborhoods. But it's hard because I feel like when your focus is survival, it's hard to care about community. Um, but I feel like a lot of the time people don't realize if you have community, then you might not need survival as much because then
Right.
you're working as like an entity instead of just individually. Um, but yeah, I don't know. It's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah. 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 That's I don't know. It's heavy. It's sad. It's sad. That's just the word. It's just sad, right?
Yeah,
It's just sad.
yeah.
Um, so why did you choose Crooklyn? Besides it being your favorite movie, why did you choose Crooklyn?
Damn, I was about to say because it's my favorite movie. I picked Crooklyn because I feel like um Spike Lee always makes very, very heavy films. And this one was one that was like it wasn't so heavy and it just I don't know. Like I said earlier, it fills me with so much nostalgia. Even when I was a kid and watching it, felt me with so much nostalgia. And even though the movie ends up being like sad, um, I don't know. I feel like you start to feel like you're a part of that family by how you watch it. Because then you're like, oh my God, Clinton's getting on my nerves again, and Nate's so funny, and he won't eat his peas. He needs the calcium. It just feels like I don't know. It just feels like home watching that movie. Like it's just so enjoyable,
Right.
and I think that's pretty much like the biggest reason I picked it. It's just I feel like everybody should watch Crooklyn because it's like a collaborative effort between three siblings to just write this story about their upbringing, just a snippet of their upbringing. And it's just, I don't know. I just really love it. I think it moves so fast and so slow at the same time. And it gives you experience every emotion watching it, you
Right.
know? Like it's sad and it's funny and it's dramatic. And, I know personally, I always rooted for Woody and Carolyn, because together it just seemed right. I don't know. It's just all around just a good full movie.
Yeah, I love that you say it feels like fast and slow because
Hmm.
that's how I felt about it as a kid, and I remember rewatching it. I'm not sure if it was the last time when Eric and I watched it, and I was like, "It's over." Like I thought this movie had like another hour or something to it,
Yeah.
but it takes you through the full gambit of summer for one, and I wrote that it's a coming of age story, which I think
Yeah.
is like one of the which I didn't realize that until I'm an adult. As a kid when you're younger, you just watch it for entertainment. As an adult, I'm like, it's a coming of age story, right? Like we talked about
Hmm.
Troy, um, growing up with all these boys, right? Yelling and cursing and having that hyper masculine energy, right? And then
Hmm.
she goes, and there are scenes in the movie where she wants puberty to hit, right? She's like trying to
Yeah.
she's stuffing her
Stuffing her shirt with the
bra, right? Yeah, she's trying to she wants to grow up. She wants to grow up. Um, and it was interesting. I was thinking about the way the other girls see Troy, right? Like on one aspect, I feel like they hate on her. They was like
Hmm.
Troy, and she thinks she cute, and blah 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 blah. Um, and then I think that's when she pours the water on that kid who lied on her. He's like I forgot his name, but he goes to Carolyn. And he's like, Troy keeps making fun of me. He said my mom was on welfare, and that's why that's why me and all my brothers have different different fathers. I said,
Different fathers.
and I'm like, yo, kids is wild. Kids are wild. But you see the
But
girls like,
granted,
right.
he deserved that
Yeah, yeah,
because
I know.
the
But yo, like
motherfucker
the
he
things
threw a
kids
cat
say are
on them.
wild.
Right. He threw a cat at them. He's a possum. He nigga threw a cat at her. He swung a cat by his tail like it was nothing and threw that shit on this girl.
I feel bad as an adult. I feel bad for the cat, right? You're like, yo, leave the cat
Yeah.
alone, man. The cat's just
You
trying
feel
to.
bad for the cat?
I feel
You
bad.
feel bad for the
I
possums?
feel bad for the cat. I feel bad for the
Yeah.
cat. um, yeah, like, and yeah, I feel like they hate on her, and I'm like, I don't get it. I don't get why they hate on her because they all kind of act the same. But
Hmm.
she wants a transformation. She goes down south. she finds a bit of her femininity, and then mom passes away, and like she's the adult on the block now. She's like leaning on the fence, looking around, making sure everyone's okay now.
Yeah.
um and like really seeing that and understanding that as an adult, and knowing that she's maturing, like she's doing like Nate's hair,
Joey.
Joey's hair,
Hmm.
Joey's
Joseph.
hair, Joseph's hair, and part of me for not knowing the names, I feel like they say the kid's name once every half hour, so like
Yeah.
I couldn't get it down packed that well. She's doing his hair, and he's like, "Ow, ow." She's like, "Well, it never hurt when mom did it." She's like, "Yo, well, maybe if you combed it more, it wouldn't hurt, right?" It's like a mother would say, and it's beautiful to see her grow into that. Like in the beginning, she's playing, I think maybe a stick ball, and
Hmm.
they pitch it one, two, and the third time she just cracks it, out of the like out of the neighborhood or whatever, out of the street. So I really love that coming of age story. It's dope that watching it in summer, like wow, it's hot as hell, right? Experiencing that, but like you said, I think now more than ever, more people, black people, people who grew up in the '90s, not even the '70s, '80s, and '90s, should be watching this to get a reminder on what community is, or what it felt like,
Yeah.
right? And the goal is to try to recreate that for yourself. Try to recreate community for yourself and for your children, however that works. Um, yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm glad I'm glad to have rewatched it at this point in time, especially like doing some of the projects I'm working on. It feels very perfect. It feels very perfect.
Right. It's just, I don't know. It's just all around a good movie. I don't think this was one of Spike Lee's more liked movies, but it's always held like I've always held it close and dear because I just really love this movie, and I feel like anybody that watches it gets something out of it, even if it's not the exact same thing I get out of it. Um, but you're right, like it definitely is a coming of age story because you're literally watching this little girl now have to fill such big shoes because her mom's gone. And it's not just her either, because even at the end of the movie, you see Clinton sort of doing the same thing.
Right.
He's kind of like looking out there to say, like, stay close, Joseph, because, dinner's going to be ready soon.
He's free. He's free from the tyrant.
Oh,
And that's
no.
fucked up to say, I know, but that's what it takes sometimes, right? Like
Yeah.
it
And I
takes.
think,
Oh yeah,
I think back to that line he said in the beginning of the movie. He said, I'd rather have a father than a mother any day. And I wonder how, in hindsight, what that did to him.
right,
And another thing that was kind of like hard to follow because like they go into there's a scene like the funeral happens, and then after the funeral there's like um they're all eating at someone's house because that's what black people do. And Clinton goes and he sits with his sister and he just holds her hand. And then Joseph comes in and he goes, oh, right hand man and Snuff did this to me. And then you realize it was a dream. And I don't know where the dream began, like where it began,
right.
because the funeral happened, all that happened. So I always get confused with that. Did Clinton really sit down with Troy and hold her hand and like try and be there for her? It's never really clear. I hope he did.
Do you know which child represents Spike Lee
Um,
for the children?
I don't know because there were only three of them, but in the story there are five. In the movie there are five kids, so I'm not sure which one was supposed to be him. But I feel like it was probably Nate.
All right. I'll look it up, and hopefully we can have it. Hopefully, I find something for the YouTube live.
Hmm.
Um, yeah. That's anything else you want to add before we wrap up?
I love you, Delroy Lindo, wherever you are. Alfred would also love you wherever you are. Um, no, that's it. I love you.
Yeah. All I got to say is salute to Spike Lee. I don't feel like he gets enough respect.
Hmm.
Um, I don't. I get it on one front, but like I just looked through his IMDb. Dude has 130 director credits. He's put in a lot of work for the Black experience. Yeah, yeah, and I think maybe like I want to just kind of go through some of his stuff during the YouTube live also. Like, yo, he's put
Hmm.
in a lot of work. He's put in a lot of
Yeah.
work as a prominent black director. Um, yeah, and that's all I got.
Big Pisces energy with Spike Lee.
You could be the next. You could be the next Tati. You could be the next Tatiana.
That's true, maybe.
Levine. How do you pronounce it?
Levine.
Levine. Why you say it like
Hmm.
that? It sounds Jewish. Tatiana Levine.
It is Jewish.
You're Jewish. You have part Jewish in you.
No, but my last name is Jewish. You never know, because let me just tell you a story real quick. There's like some Jewish society program or something. I don't know. But when I was a kid, they used to send me and my mom and my sister letters with stickers with our addresses and everything on it, like as a gift, because they thought we were Jewish. And I was like, oh, these are cool. I can put these on letters. But yeah, we're not Jewish, but we just have a very Jewish last name. But that could probably go back to slavery.
When you make it big, you could do a Whoopi did. Tatiana Goldberg, Tatiana Levine. All right, until next time. Peace.
Bye.